The wedding hall held 400 guests, white roses, and a secret nobody had told the groom yet. The string quartet stops mid-note. Every head turns. The doors at the far end of the ballroom open slowly, not kicked, not rushed, just open, the way a man opens a door when he owns everything behind it. Kim Jung-go walks in. He is not in a suit. He is in one. There is a difference. The fabric is charcoal Italian wool, cut so clean it looks like sculpture on a body. He doesn't scan the room. He doesn't need to. He already knows every exit, every face, every camera angle. It was not paranoia. Rather just Tuesday for a man like him. But it's not him they're staring at. It's her. She is tall. Poised. A deep emerald green dress that does not beg for attention. It simply receives it. Imani Parker walks beside him, not behind him, and the distinction is everything. Her chin is level. Her eyes are calm. She hasn't looked at the bride once. She doesn't need to. The whispers start at table 3 and reach table 12 in under 4 seconds. Scientists call it social contagion. The way emotion spreads through a crowd faster than any spoken word, like neurons firing across a single shared brain. The bride's smile? Gone. Beck Yura stands frozen at the altar, bouquet in hand, in a dress that cost more than most people's cars. Her eyes are fixed on the entrance. Her jaw is tight. Her new groom, polished, handsome, already insecure, follows her gaze. He sees Jung-go. He sees Imani. His face does something complicated. And Jung-go? He simply finds a seat. Unhurried. Unbothered. He pulls out Imani's chair first. Cut. 2 weeks earlier. The corporate event is on the 42nd floor. Floor-to-ceiling glass. Soles stretched out below like a map of everything Jung-go has spent 15 years building. 200 staff. Investors. Board members. The kind of room where reputations live and die between handshakes. Yura finds him near the bar. She is already performing by the time she crosses the room. The walk, the tilt of the head, the half-smile she's rehearsed without knowing she rehearsed it. She stops close. Too close. The kind of close that is meant to be noticed by everyone watching. Jung-go. He turns. His drink doesn't move. Yura. That's it. That's all she gets. She was expecting something more. Relief. Tension, longing. She gets a name. Her eyes sweep the room. People are watching. Good. That's exactly what she wanted. I've been thinking, she says, loud enough that the cluster of junior executives 3 feet away can hear. About us. He waits. You're not right for me. She tilts her head. You never were. You're dangerous, Jung-go. Unstable. I need someone real. Someone who can actually be a husband. Still nothing from him. Not a flinch. Not a shift in weight. The only thing that moves is the ice in his glass. So she pushes harder. You're pathetic, she says. Clear. Deliberate. Each word placed like a blade. A man who controls everything and can't even hold on to one woman. The room goes quieter than it should. Then her hand moves. The slap lands across his left cheek. Sharp. Loud. The kind of sound that doesn't echo. It just sits in the air, heavy while everyone decides how to breathe again. 200 people. Complete silence. Jung-go does not move. His head turns slightly from the impact and then returns, slowly, deliberately back to center. He looks at her. Just looks. His expression doesn't collapse. It doesn't harden. It simply watches. She expected rage. Or shame. She got neither. He sets his glass down on the bar. Fixes his cuff. And walks away. No scene. No threat. No last word. That was the moment Yura should have understood what she'd done. The human body under genuine threat releases cortisol within seconds. Heart rate climbs. Vision narrows. Instinct takes over. But ego? Ego blocks all of it. She felt only triumph. She would feel everything else later. Min-jae was by the elevator when Jung-go reached it. His right-hand man, compact, watchful, never more than 30 seconds away. That was broadcast on 3 phones. Min-jae said quietly. Jung-go pressed the button. Said nothing. Sir. I heard you. The elevator opened. They stepped in. Min-jae looked straight ahead. What do you want to do? Jung-go looked at his own reflection in the steel doors. His cheek was faintly red. He studied it the way he studied quarterly reports, without emotion, just data. Nothing, he said. Nothing. For now. The doors closed. Down on the 42nd floor, Beck Yura was already accepting champagne from someone and laughing too loudly. She had no idea the clock had started. She never does. 3 days after the slap, Yura is engaged. Nobody saw that coming. Not even if you watch his face in photos from that week. The groom. His name is Shin Hyunwoo. Tech money, old family name, the kind of man who irons his casual shirts. He is handsome in a way that requires maintenance. Good gym, good tailor, good lighting. He proposed at a rooftop restaurant with a ring that made it onto 2 blogs before midnight. Yura said yes before he finished the sentence. She posted it at 11:47 p.m. 1,400 likes by morning. She checked 3 times before she slept. 2 weeks pass. Then she does something that should have embarrassed her but didn't. Not yet. She sends Junggo a wedding invitation. Not through an assistant. Not digitally. She handwrites his name on the envelope herself, seals it, and has it couriered to his office building. The card inside is cream-colored, gold print, the whole thing. At the bottom, in her own handwriting, for words she adds that aren't printed on anyone else's card. Hope you can make it. Her assistant watches her seal it. Says nothing. Smart woman. The invitation lands on Junggo's desk on a Thursday morning, between a merger proposal and a security brief. Min-jae brings it in with the rest of the stack, sets it down, steps back. Junggo opens it, reads it once, sets it flat on the desk. Min-jae waits. She hand-wrote your name, he says. I can see that. And added a note. Min-jae. Sir. Get me Imani's schedule for the 14th. Min-jae pauses just half a second, the way a man pauses when he already knows the answer to a question nobody asked yet. Then he pulls out his phone. Imani Parker has been with Junggo Corporation for 6 years. She runs strategic operations, which means she knows where every deal is buried, which partners are lying, and which problems to solve before Junggo has to hear about them. She is good at her job the way a surgeon is good at surgery. Quiet about it. Effective. She is in a meeting when the call comes through. She steps out, listens, says 2 words. Which wedding? Min-jae tells her. A beat of silence. He wants me there as what, exactly? His guest. Another pause. Longer. Send me the details. She goes back into the meeting. Sits down. Her colleague across the table asks if everything's fine. Yes, she says, and picks up her pen. Her leg is still under the table, but her heel lifts off the floor just slightly and stays there. Fun fact worth knowing. South Korea has one of the highest rates of revenge attendance, culture documented in social behavior studies, showing up to events specifically to reclaim status. Psychologists call it social reentry signaling. Yura invented nothing. She just did it louder than most. That evening, Min-jae finds Junggo at the window of his office. City below. Dark outside. She'll do it, Min-jae says. Junggo nods. You know Yura's not just trying to embarrass you. Min-jae pulls the invitation from his jacket pocket, holds it for a second. This isn't a wedding. It's a trap. Junggo takes the card from him, looks at the 4 handwritten words at the bottom. Hope you can make it. He sets it back on the desk face down. Good, he says. What Yura didn't expect was that he'd already RSVP'd, and that he wasn't coming alone. The morning of the RSVP, Junggo's building was already moving by 6 a.m. 43rd floor. His office faces east. He's at his desk when Imani arrives, 7 sharp. She knocks once, opens the door, sits across from him without being asked. She has a coffee. She didn't bring him one. That tells you something about who she is. She's not here to manage him. She drops a folder on the desk. I went through the guest list. He looks up. Hyunwoo's family controls 3 shipping contracts her firm uses in the South Port. She opens the folder. If this goes badly, if there's a scene, they pull 2 of them by Monday. There won't be a scene. I know. That's why I'm telling you now. She closes the folder. What exactly do you need from me that day? He leans back. Show up. Stay close. Don't perform. She holds his gaze for a moment. I don't perform. I know. She picks up her coffee. Then we don't have a problem. Min-jae arrives 20 minutes later with a printed brief, 3 pages, the kind of prep work most people do for a courtroom. Here's what we know about the venue. He sits without drama. Outdoor garden reception. 110 tables. Yura's coordinator confirmed reserved seating. She's put you at table 19. Back corner, partially blocked view of the altar. Imani raises an eyebrow. Table 19, Junggo repeats. She wanted you visible enough to know you showed up. Far enough that you couldn't steal focus. A short silence. Change our table, Junggo says. Already requested table 4. And, confirmed. Venue coordinator was very accommodating once I mentioned the name. Here's something most people don't know. Wedding seating isn't random. Event planners study social psychology to place guests strategically, keeping rivals apart, centering high-status guests near the head table. Where you seat someone tells the whole room exactly what you think of them. Yura put Jungo at table 19 on purpose. He noticed. Imani reads the brief. Flips to page 2. She's planned a reception game. I saw. Wine etiquette segment. She looks up. She's testing guests on sommelier-level knowledge. Crystal identification, decanting protocol, vintage pairing. Min-jae watches Jungo. She's expecting me to bring someone who won't know what to do, Jungo says. She's expecting you to bring someone she can embarrass. Imani sets the papers down. That's the plan. Min-jae leans forward. Imani, how much do you actually know about wine? She looks at him. My mother ran a wine import business in Accra for 11 years. I spent every summer in her cellar grading vintages by smell. She picks up her coffee again. I know enough. Min-jae looks at Jungo. Jungo says nothing. But something moves at the corner of his mouth. Quick. Gone before it lands. Imani leaves at 9. The office goes quiet. Min-jae lingers by the door. She's good, he says. Yes. This is going to be interesting. Jungo opens the merger file. It already is. Min-jae steps out and pulls the door behind him. Doesn't close it fully. Old habit, he likes to hear when things change in that room. Nothing changes. Jungo reads the merger file for 6 minutes. Then stops. Looks at the window. Then goes back to the page. Across the city, in a bridal suite full of white garment bags and champagne flutes, Yura is doing a final dress fitting. Her maid of honor is telling her the table arrangement is perfect. Yura smooths the front of the dress. Did he RSVP? Yesterday. She smiles at her own reflection. Good. She doesn't ask if he's bringing someone. That's the thing about ego. It only asks the questions it already knows the answers to. What nobody told Yura, not her coordinator, not her maid of honor, not even her groom, was that table 4 had a direct sight line to the altar, and that Imani Parker had already decided what she was going to wear. The 14th arrives the way important days always do, quietly, without announcement, just another morning that doesn't know what it's carrying. Imani is up at 5. Not because she's nervous, because she's always up at 5. Old habit from her mother's house in Accra, where the market noise started before sunrise and sleeping through it meant you were either sick or lazy. She makes coffee. Stands at her kitchen window. Lagos cold air coming through the gap she always leaves open. She pulls out the dress at 6. Emerald green. Simple cut. The kind of dress that doesn't try. She holds it against herself in the mirror once, then hangs it on the door and goes to eat breakfast. Her phone buzzes. Min-jae. Car picks you up at 10. He'll meet you at the venue. She types back, fine. Then, after a second, tell him to eat something first. Min-jae sends a thumbs up. Then, 30 seconds later, he says the same about you. She sets the phone face down and finishes her coffee. Jungo is already in the car by 9:30. Dark suit. No tie. He looks like a man going to close a deal, not attend a celebration. Min-jae sits across from him, phone in hand, running through the final guest count. Hyunwoo's father is seated at the head table, Min-jae says. 3 of his business partners are in the second row. If anything disrupts the reception, it won't. I'm telling you the stakes. I know the stakes. Jungo looks out the window. I set them. Min-jae puts the phone down. Tries a different angle. How are you feeling? Jungo looks at him. Professionally asking, Min-jae says. Professional answer, fine. Min-jae nods slowly. He has worked for this man for 9 years. He knows what fine sounds like when it means fine, and what it sounds like when it means something else entirely. This one he can't place. That itself tells him something. Here's a fact that belongs in this moment. Studies in behavioral economics show that people who've been publicly humiliated make decisions 34% more strategically in the following weeks than they would under normal conditions. Humiliation sharpens focus. It removes noise. Jungo hadn't wasted a single move since that corporate event. Not one. They pick up Imani at 10 past. She gets in. Sits beside Min-jae. Across from Jungo. She smells like something light. Cedar, maybe. She has a small clutch. No jewelry except one thin gold bracelet on her left wrist. Jungo looks at her once. Nods. She nods back. Min-jae looks between them and says nothing. Smart man. The car moves through traffic. 40 minutes of city and quiet. Nobody performs small talk. Imani scrolls through something on her phone. A brief, work-related, 3 tabs open. Junggo sits with his hands loose on his knees, watching the road. At one point the car stops at a light and a bus pulls alongside them, close, engine loud. Imani doesn't flinch. Neither does he. Min-jae watches them both and thinks, this is either going to be very clean or very complicated. He has learned over 9 years that with Junggo it is almost always both. The venue comes into view at 10:58. White marquee. Garden lined with pale flowers. Guests already filing through the entrance in their finest. The kind of wedding that spent a long time wanting to be photographed. The car slows. Ready? Min-jae asks. Imani clicks her clutch shut. Junggo adjusts one cuff. Nobody answers the question. The door opens. What was waiting inside those doors wasn't just a wedding. 3 of the guests had already pulled out their phones before Junggo and Imani reached the entrance steps. And it was not to take pictures of the bride. The doors are tall, white, heavy. A venue attendant pulls them open from inside, and the sound of the string quartet spills out into the afternoon air. Something classical, something chosen to signal money and taste. The guests nearest the entrance turn first. Polite curiosity. Then the turning spreads table by table, the way it always does when something more interesting than the occasion walks in. Junggo doesn't slow down, doesn't speed up. Imani matches him step for step. They cross the threshold and the quartet doesn't stop, but one of the violinists misses a note. Tiny. Recovers fast. But Min-jae, standing just inside the door behind them, hears it. Table 1 turns. Table 2. Table 4 there's already waiting. The whispers start. Not loud. Never loud at weddings like this, where everyone is performing dignity. But they move fast across the room. Mouth to ear, eye to eye. Who is she? Is that? Yes, that's him. Why is he here? Did she invite him? She invited him? Yura is at the altar for the pre-ceremony photo arrangement. Her maid of honor sees them first and makes the mistake of touching Yura's arm. Yura turns. She sees Junggo. Then she sees Imani. Her expression doesn't collapse. She's too controlled for that. But her grip tightens on the bouquet. White roses, 12 of them, now slightly crushed on the left side where her fingers have closed. She expected him to come broken or visibly in despair, not to be the focus of the event. Hyunwoo, standing beside her, follows her eyes. His jaw shifts. He looks at Junggo, then at Imani, then back at his bride. He waits for her to say something. She doesn't. Junggo reaches table 4, pulls out Imani's chair. She sits. He sits. A server materializes immediately. Top venues run on attention, and table 4 is suddenly the most watched surface in the room. Champagne, the server asks. Water, Junggo says. Same, Imani says. The server leaves. Imani opens the event program, reads it the way she reads quarterly reports, quickly looking for problems. Wine segment is after the vows, she says quietly. I know. She's done it cleverly. Frames it as entertainment. Nobody can object without looking humorless. Let her have the frame. He straightens his cutlery without looking at it. We'll take the result. 2 tables away, a woman in a green dress leans to her husband and whispers something. He turns and looks at Imani, then whispers back. His wife nods, satisfied. At table 7, one of Hyunwoo's business partners has stopped his conversation mid-sentence and is staring at Junggo with an expression that is trying very hard to look casual. At table 9, someone is already typing. Here's something worth knowing. Sociologists who study high-status social events found that a new guest's perceived status is locked in by the room within 90 seconds of arrival. 90 seconds. After that, people stopped questioning it and start adjusting to it. Junggo and Imani had been inside for 40. They were already halfway through the window. The room was already reorganizing itself around them. Yura excuses herself from the photographer. Her maid of honor catches her arm. Don't. I'm not doing anything. Yura. I'm going to say hello. She smooths the front of her dress. He's a guest. It would be rude not to. Her maid of honor lets go. She knows this face. There's no stopping this face. Yura crosses the room. Straight back. Chin up. She stops at table 4 and looks down at them both. Junggo. A bright smile. I'm so glad you came. He looks up. Congratulations. That's it. 2 words. Warm as concrete. Her eyes move to Imani. And you are. Imani looks up from the program. Meets her eyes. Imani Parker. She doesn't add anything. Doesn't explain herself. Just holds the eye contact, easy and unbothered. The way you look at someone when they are simply not a threat. A beat of silence that lasts slightly too long. Lovely to meet you, Yura says. You too. Imani goes back to the program. Yura stands there 1 second longer than she should. Then she turns and walks back toward the altar. Her steps are even, controlled. But her maid of honor, watching from across the room, sees her exhale before she's fully turned away. The ceremony begins 7 minutes later. Hyunwoo takes his place at the altar. He watches Yura walk toward him down the aisle and he smiles, wide, relieved, the smile of a man who needs the moment to go well. His eyes drift once, just once, to table 4. Imani is reading the program. Junggo is watching the ceremony with a face that gives nothing away. Hyunwoo looks back at his bride, keeps smiling, but his right hand, hanging at his side, curls slowly into a fist. Opens. Curls again. The vows took 11 minutes. Yura cried twice, both times while facing the crowd, not the groom. The guests thought it was sweet, a bride being emotional at the vows, and then the reception began. And Yura picked up the microphone and said, "Before we eat, let's play a little game." The microphone feedback whines for half a second before the sound guy fixes it. Yura doesn't flinch. She holds the mic with the ease of someone who has rehearsed this moment without admitting she rehearsed it. The reception hall is warm now, full of perfume and conversation, and the soft clink of cutlery being arranged by staff who move like ghosts. "I thought we'd do something fun before dinner," she says. Applause. Light, obedient. The kind guests give when they don't know what they're agreeing to yet. A little wine game. She smiles at the room. Nothing serious. Just a chance to see who really knows their table. Laughter. Someone whistles from the back. A staff member wheels out a cart. 6 bottles, labels turned inward. 6 crystal glasses per setting, already arranged at select tables. Not every table. 6 tables. Chosen carefully. Table 4 is one of them. Min-jae, seated 1 table behind, sees the cart and looks immediately at Junggo. Junggo is reading the label on his water glass. His face is doing nothing. Yura's coordinator hands her a card. She reads it with the confidence of someone who wrote it herself. Each table will taste 3 wines. Identify the grape, the region, and the vintage within 2 years. She pauses for effect. The winning table gets a magnum of the estate's best bottle. Another pause. Smile. And bragging rights, of course. More laughter. Hyunwoo, seated at the head table, claps. He looks proud of her. He doesn't know what this is yet. His father, seated 2 chairs down, is not clapping. He is watching table 4. The pouring begins. First wine. Pale gold. Almost no color at the rim. The server fills glasses with practiced efficiency. Imani lifts hers before anyone at the table speaks. Holds it to the light. Tilts it. Sets it flat on the table and leans over it, not dramatically, just close enough. She inhales once. Sits back. The man seated across from her at table 4, one of Hyunwoo's cousins, there to fill the seat count, watches her and picks up his own glass, trying to do the same thing. He tilts it too hard. Nearly spills. Imani doesn't look at him. Chenin Blanc, she says quietly. To Junggo, not to the room. Loire Valley. Probably Vouvray. The minerality is too clean for South Africa. Junggo looks at his glass. Hasn't touched it. Vintage. She tilts her head slightly. Smell the glass after the sip, not during. She takes a small sip. Holds it. Swallows. 2019. Maybe 2018. There's still tension in it. Hasn't fully opened. A coordinator moves table to table collecting answers on small cards. She writes, Chenin Blanc. Vouvray, Loire Valley. 2019. Across the room, Yura is watching. She's doing it carefully, laughing at something her maid of honor says, body angled away, but her eyes keep cutting back to table 4. She expected fumbling. She expected Junggo's date to lift the glass wrong, smell it too obviously, write something embarrassing on the card. She did not expect this. She did not expect Imani to look like she grew up in a cellar. Here's something extraordinary. The human nose can distinguish between 1 trillion different scents, a figure confirmed by Rockefeller University researchers in 2014. A trained sommelier uses maybe 40 of them when identifying wine. Imani's mother taught her 37 before she turned 16. In that room with those bottles, she was not guessing. She was reading. Second wine. Deep red. Nearly opaque. The cousin across from Imani sniffs his glass aggressively and writes something down with the energy of a man who once watched a wine documentary. Imani swirls hers twice. Holds the glass at an angle against the white tablecloth. Studies the color at the edge, brick-tinted, fading fast. Nebbiolo, she says. Same quiet tone. Barolo. The tannins are still grippy but the color's turned. This is older. 2015 at the earliest. Could be 2013. She writes, Nebbiolo. Barolo, Piedmont. 2014. Jungo finally picks up his glass. Looks at it. You're sure? Smell the rim after you sip. The tar and rose thing. That's only Barolo. He sips. Pauses. Sets it down. Tar and rose. Yes. He almost smiles. Not quite. Close. By the third wine the room has lost interest in its own competition. Most tables are guessing wildly now, laughing, turning it into entertainment the way Yura intended. But 3 tables are watching table 4 instead of their own glasses. Third wine.
Sparkling. Pale pink.
The cousin doesn't even try this time. He just writes rose and sits back. Imani lifts the glass. The bubbles are fine, persistent, rising in a single straight line from the base. She tilts it. The color is salmon, barely pink, almost copper at the edge. Blanc de Noirs, she says. Champagne. Pinot Noir dominant. The mousse is too refined for Prosecco, and the color gives away the grape.
She sips. Holds.
2017. The acidity is sharp, but the fruit's still there.
Good year.
She writes the card. Hands it to the coordinator, without looking up. The results take 4 minutes. Yura is at the mic again. Okay, and the winning table, with all 3 wines correctly identified, region and vintage. She glances at the card in her coordinator's hand. Her smile doesn't move, but something behind it does. Table 4. Applause. Jungo doesn't stand. Doesn't raise a glass. Doesn't perform. Imani simply nods once, the way you nod when something goes the way it was always going to go. The magnum arrives at the table. The cousin looks at it like he helped. Yura sets the microphone down. Turns to her new husband. Shall we eat? Hyunwoo looks at her. Then at table 4.
Sure, he says.
His voice is flat. First time all day. Dinner was served. The room relaxed. And that should have been the end of it. Except Jungo stood up after the main course and walked toward the garden. And Imani followed. And neither of them came back for 20 minutes. People noticed. Yura noticed most. The garden is quieter than the hall. String lights overhead, the kind that hum faintly if you stand directly beneath them. Stone path, 2 benches, a row of tall hedges that block the venue noise down to a murmur. Catering staff cross through every few minutes, but don't linger. Jungo stops near the second bench. Doesn't sit. Stands with his hands in his jacket pockets, looking at the hedges like they owe him something. Imani stops beside him. Neither of them speaks first. It isn't uncomfortable. That's the thing. It should feel strange. 2 people standing in a garden at someone else's wedding, both aware the room behind them is watching the door they left through. But it doesn't feel strange. It feels like the first honest moment of the entire day. You didn't have to do that, he says finally. She looks at him. Do what? The wine. The way you handled it. He pauses. You made it look effortless. It was effortless. That's not what I mean. She turns to face him slightly. The string lights catch the gold bracelet on her wrist. I know what you mean. He looks at her then. Really looks. Not the way he looked at the room earlier, reading exits, calculating positions. This is different. Slower. 6 years, he says.
6 years, she repeats.
And I never asked you anything about your mother. Something moves across her face.
Not pain exactly.
Something older than pain. You knew she ran a business. I knew the revenue. He says it plainly. No excuse in it. Just fact. She nods slowly. Looks back at the hedges. Imani. Jungo. The way they say each other's names. Not loaded. Not careful. Just direct. Like 2 people who have finally stopped standing slightly to the side of something. Here's what nobody tells you about proximity. Stanford psychologists found that people who work in close quarters for extended periods develop what researchers call ambient trust, a bone-deep familiarity that bypasses the usual social filters. It doesn't announce itself. It just appears one day, quietly, already finished building. 6 years of closed-door meetings and 14-hour days and problems solved at midnight. It was already there. It had been there a while.
Thank you, he says.
For today. It's a simple sentence. But the way he says it, not clipped, not professional, lands differently. She hears the weight in it. She turns to look at him. He isn't looking at the hedges anymore. The gap between them is small. It was already small. When it closes, it doesn't close dramatically, no step forward, no sudden movement. It just closes, the way distance closes between two things that have been moving toward each other slowly for long enough. He kisses her. She lets him. Not long. Not urgent. The kind of kiss that isn't asking a question because it already knows the answer. When it ends, neither of them moves immediately. The string lights hum overhead. Somewhere beyond the hedge, a server drops something metal and someone laughs. Imani exhales through her nose. That wasn't in the plan.
No, he says.
Are you going to say sorry? He looks at her. Are you? She holds his gaze. The corner of her mouth moves. Not a full smile. Something quieter than that and better. No. Inside the hall, Hyunwoo is laughing at something his uncle is saying. But his eyes keep going to the garden door. His uncle says something else. Hyunwoo laughs again. His timing is 1 second off. Yura, 3 seats away, is not laughing. She has her champagne flute in her hand, and she is smiling at the table, but she is watching the garden door the way you watch a wound, waiting to see how bad it is. The door opens. Junggo and Imani come back in. Nothing between them looks different. Same distance. Same calm. But something has shifted, and the room feels it the way a room always feels things. Not one person noticing, but everyone noticing at once. Yura's flute is at her lips. She doesn't sip. At the far table, Min-jae looks up from his phone and sees them. He looks at Junggo's face. Looks at Imani's. Sets his phone down slowly. He allows himself one small expression. Gone in a second. Nobody sees it. They reach table 4. Junggo sits. Picks up his water. Imani opens her clutch and checks her phone like she always does. Efficient and unhurried. Under the table, their chairs are 1 inch closer together than when they left. Nobody can prove that means anything. But Hyunwoo's uncle, mid-story, notices Hyunwoo isn't listening anymore. Hyunwoo. Sorry. He blinks.
Picks up his drink.
Sorry, you were saying. His uncle studies him for a moment. Then continues. Hyunwoo nods in the right places.
Drinks.
Laughs once. But his eyes stay on his bride. And his bride's eyes stay on table 4. And in this room full of vows and flowers and expensive wine, the only honest thing that happened all day happened in a garden, between two people who didn't plan it. Hyunwoo excused himself from the table 20 minutes later. He walked toward the bar. Instead, he stopped near the garden entrance where 2 of Yura's cousins were talking. He wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but he heard his bride's name. And then he heard the rest of it. And he stood very still with his hand on the door frame while the string quartet played something nobody was listening to anymore. The 2 cousins don't notice him. They're tucked into the corner near the garden entrance, champagne in hand, the way people get when a wedding has gone on long enough that the performance drops and the real conversation starts. One of them, older, sharp eyes, red dress, is leaning against the wall. The other has her back to Hyunwoo. He hears his name first.
Stops.
Then he hears Junggo's. Then he stands very still and listens to things a groom should never hear at his own wedding. She never stopped. The one in the red dress says. Not unkindly. Just factually the way women say true things to each other. Everyone could see it except him. She invited him here, the other one says. Who does that? Someone who needs to know she still has power over him. A sip. Except he walked in with that woman, and now Yura's been off since the second glass of wine. Did you see her face when they came back from the garden? A pause. I saw. Hyunwoo's hand is on the door frame. The wood is cool. He is aware of it the way you become aware of small physical things when your mind is trying to process something too large. She loves him still. The one in red says quietly. Maybe she doesn't know it, but she invited her ex-boyfriend to her wedding and spent the whole reception watching him. That's not closure. That's not even close to closure. The other one says nothing. Neither does Hyunwoo. He stands there for 4 more seconds. Then he lets go of the door frame, straightens his jacket, walks to the bar and orders something he doesn't touch. Here is something most people never learn about the human heart. Cardiologists have documented a condition called Takotsubo syndrome, stress-induced heart failure triggered purely by emotional shock. No blockage. No prior disease. Just sudden devastating news. The heart physically changes shape under enough pain. Hyunwoo is a healthy 34-year-old man. But standing at that bar, he understands for the first time that the body keeps score even when the mind is still pretending. He stays at the bar for 11 minutes. 3 people come to talk to him.
He responds.
He smiles. He is polite and present and completely elsewhere. When he goes back to the table, Yura is mid-laugh, at something her maid of honor said. She sees him, and the laugh finishes naturally, and she reaches for his hand. He lets her take it, but he doesn't close his fingers. She doesn't notice. Or she notices and files it away. Either way, she keeps talking, keeps performing the reception, keeps being the bride. She is very good at it. She has been performing since the doors opened. Hyunwoo watches her. He has looked at this woman 100 different ways over the last 8 months. Right now, he's looking at her like a man who has just been handed a document he should have read before he signed. The speeches start at 8. Her father. His mother. The best man who goes 3 minutes too long and earns nervous laughter from the front tables. Yura cries during her father's speech. Real tears. The cleanest, honest moment she's had all day. Hyunwoo holds her hand through it. At table 4, Imani is watching the speeches with quiet attention. She has her water. The magnum of wine won earlier sits unopened beside the table. She never asked for it to be poured. Junggo is watching Hyunwoo. Min-jae, 2 tables back, is watching all of them. He has the particular stillness of a man who knows the night is not over. The dancing starts at 8:45. First dance. Yura and Hyunwoo take the floor to something slow and orchestral. He holds her correctly. Leads well. His face is doing the right things. But 3 minutes in, with her head near his shoulder, she turns her face slightly. Not toward him. Toward table 4. She catches herself. Corrects it. Presses her cheek against his jacket. He felt the turn.
She doesn't know that.
He felt it, and he closed his eyes and kept dancing and said nothing. When the song ends, the room applauds and Hyunwoo steps back and looks at his wife and smiles the smile of a man making a decision. He made one phone call that night. Not to his family. Not to his lawyer. To the wedding coordinator. She answered on the 3rd ring. What he asked her to hold took her completely by surprise. And by morning, 3 people knew the wedding was already over before the cake was cut. 4 days later, Hyunwoo moves out of the apartment. He doesn't make a scene. Doesn't send a long message. He packs 2 bags, clothes, his laptop, the framed photo of his parents from the hallway, and leaves a single note on the kitchen counter. I deserve someone who shows up fully.
So do you.
7 words. No accusations. No names. Yura finds it at noon. She reads it twice. Then she sits on the kitchen floor still in her robe and stays there for a while with the note in her hand. She doesn't call him. She doesn't call anyone for 3 hours. The wedding photos go up on the photographer's preview page at 9 a.m. that same morning, standard 48-hour turnaround, auto-published. Yura had approved the settings weeks ago. 412 photos. In 61 of them, if you look closely, Yura is looking somewhere other than her husband. A blogger notices by noon. Posts a side-by-side. Yura's eyeline in 17 photos, all aimed at the same corner of the room. The caption is 4 words.
Who is she looking at?
By evening, it has 40,000 interactions. By the next morning, someone has identified table 4. Here is something about the internet most people underestimate. MIT researchers found that false or emotionally provocative stories spread 6 times faster than accurate ones online. But this story spreading wasn't false. That was the problem. Every detail was verifiable. Every photo was timestamped. The truth moved at the speed of gossip. Nobody could stop it because nobody had to lie. Yura's phone doesn't stop.
Friends.
Journalists, small ones first, then larger. Her mother calls 4 times, and she lets them all go to voicemail because she doesn't know what to say yet, and Yura has never in her life said anything before she knew what to say. She gets in the shower. Stands under hot water for a long time. When she gets out, she wipes the mirror and looks at herself. Not the bride from the photos. Not the woman who crossed a corporate event ballroom with her shoulders back and her mind made up. Just a woman in a steamed-up bathroom holding a towel, alone, with a quiet pressing in. She had invited him to prove something.
She proved something.
Just not what she planned. Junggo is in the office by 7 a.m. No different from any other morning, coffee reports the city below. Min-jae arrives at 7:15 with a briefing and says nothing about the weekend until Junggo asks. The photos are circulating, Min-jae says. I know. Imani's been tagged in 4 articles. Junggo sets his pen down. How is she handling it? She sent 1 response. Said she's a private individual and won't be commenting. Good. Min-jae pulls a chair.
Sits.
This is unusual. He mostly stands. Junggo notices. Say it. Junggo says. The garden. Yes. Was that planned? Junggo picks his pen back up.
No.
Min-jae nods slowly. Are you going to do anything about it? I already did. I mean formally. With her. A pause. Outside, the windowsill is awake and moving and indifferent. Somewhere in this city, Imani Parker is at her own desk handling her own morning with the same efficiency she handles everything. I called her this morning, Jungo says. Min-jae waits. We're having dinner Thursday. Min-jae exhales. Not relief, exactly. Something that has been waiting to exhale for about 6 years. Good, he says. Imani is in back-to-back meetings until 2. Between the second and third, she steps into the corridor and checks her phone. For missed calls from numbers she doesn't recognize. 2 texts from colleagues, both asking some version of "Are you okay?" with that careful punctuation people use when they want information but are pretending to offer care. She types back, "Fine. Thanks." Then she opens Jungo's message from this morning. Reads it again. Thursday. Anywhere you choose. She types her response. A restaurant name.
A time.
Nothing else. Sends it. Puts her phone in her pocket and walks back into the meeting. Yura calls the wedding coordinator on Wednesday. Not to complain. Not to dispute anything. She just needs to talk to someone who is there and isn't personally involved, and the coordinator is professional enough to listen without filling the silence with opinions. Did it look like what they're saying it looked like? Yura asks. The coordinator is quiet for a moment. She is a careful woman. She has coordinated 211 weddings, and she knows the answer to this question. Mrs. Shin. Don't. Yura's voice is flat. Just answer. Another pause. The room noticed them before they noticed the ceremony, the coordinator says carefully. And yes, the photos reflect that. Yura says nothing. I'm sorry, the coordinator adds. Don't be. Yura hangs up. She sits in her living room. The wedding gifts are still stacked near the door, some of them unopened, still in their silver paper and white ribbon. The apartment is too big for one person. She never noticed that before. She opens her laptop. Types Jungo's name into the search bar. Doesn't hit enter. Closes the laptop. Sits back. There are things she could do now. Statements she could release. Narratives she could shape. She is good at that, at stepping into a situation and arranging it the way she wants. She has done it her whole life. But she is tired. And the quiet in this apartment isn't going anywhere. The thing about burning something down to prove you don't need it is that the ash belongs to you too. Thursday evening. A restaurant in the quieter part of the city. Good lighting, low noise, the kind of place people go when they want to actually hear each other. Jungo arrives 2 minutes early. Imani arrives on time.
She sits.
They look at each other across the table. No performance. No explanation. No pretending the garden didn't happen. How was your week? He asks. Interesting, she says. Yours? The same? The waiter comes. They order. When he leaves, they settle into the silence for a moment, comfortable, easy, the silence of 2 people who have spent 6 years in the same rooms and are only now sitting in one on purpose. I should tell you something, Imani says.
He waits.
I knew. She holds his gaze. Before the garden. I knew it was moving that direction. She pauses. I just wanted to see if you did. He looks at her. And, you kissed me first. I did. So. She picks up her menu. Now we know. He picks up his menu. He is smiling. Small. Real. The first completely unguarded thing he has done in longer than he can remember. She invited him to humiliate him. She handed him the room, the moment, and the woman. He just knew what to do with all 3. You didn't stumble onto this channel by accident. You were looking for something that actually moves you, and now you found it. Don't lose it. Subscribe right now, hit the notification bell, and become part of a community that lives for stories this good. Tell me in the comments, what was the moment that got you? I want to know. I'll be there waiting.